My name is Clara West, and the night before my wedding, my phone buzzed with a message that shattered everything. I can't do this, Clara. It's over. No explanation. No call, just 10 words. The next morning, our shared savings account, $30,000, was empty. Transferred straight to his mother. I remember staring at the screen, my hands shaking, whispering, "Why would you do this to me, Ethan?" I thought I'd never see him again. But 3 months later, he came crawling back, and that's when the real story began. The morning after Ethan's message, the world felt quiet. Not peaceful quiet, hollow quiet. The kind that hums in your bones when you realize the person you trusted most just vanished. The coffee pot still sat on the counter, half filled from the night before. His mug beside mine, 2 rings of dried coffee. 2 ghosts of what was supposed to be forever. We were supposed to get married that weekend. My dress hung in the hallway, still wrapped in that soft plastic, untouched. Mom kept calling, her voice trembling every time I picked up. "Sweetheart, maybe he just panicked." Weddings can be overwhelming, but I wasn't crying. Not yet, I was angry. Not just at him, but at myself. Because I'd ignored the signs. The long nights at work. The sudden need for space. The way his mother, Lydia, looked at me was like I was stealing her only son. Ethan always brushed it off. "She just worries too much," he'd say, kissing my forehead. "She'll come around after the wedding." She didn't. That afternoon, I drove to the bank. My hands trembled on the steering wheel as I replayed his message. The banker's expression said it all before she even spoke. Yes. Miss West. The funds were transferred by Mr. Hayes to an account under Lydia Hayes. I remember her tone. Polite. Detached, as if she hadn't just confirmed my worst fear. "Can I reverse it?" I asked. "I'm afraid not." Both parties were listed as joint owners. Joint owners. The word stung more than the betrayal itself. I'd trusted him enough to share everything, even the savings I'd built before we met. The deposit for our house. The honeymoon fund. Every hour I'd worked overtime for, gone. I stepped outside and sat on the curb. The sky felt too bright for what was happening. Cars passed. Life moved. And there I was, a bride without a groom, a dream without a dollar. That night, Mom came over. She held me like I was 5 again. "Let him go, Clara. Some men destroy themselves. You don't have to help them." I wanted to believe her. But part of me still wanted to know why. Why the man who once promised me forever had turned into a stranger overnight. I didn't block him. I wanted him to explain himself. To beg, maybe. But the days passed, and my phone stayed silent. I returned the venue's call, canceled the florist, and donated the dress. Every cancellation was a small funeral. 3 weeks later, I went back to work. Everyone looked at me like I was glass. Pity mixed with curiosity. He left her? Over text? I heard his mother was involved. I smiled through it. Pretended I was fine. Inside, I was crumbling. At night, I'd scroll through our old messages. The ones where we planned our life. What color to paint the nursery. How many kids we wanted and where we'd retire. He used to say, "You're my forever, Clara." Now his name made my stomach twist. One evening, I got a call from his sister, Mara. We weren't close, but her voice was heavy with guilt. "Clara." I shouldn't be saying this, but Mom's been bragging. Bragging? She said Ethan came to her in tears about the money, that he wanted to invest it, and she convinced him she could protect it. But I think she just kept it. My pulse quickened. "So she took everything?" Mara hesitated. "She says it's hers now. That you were never part of the family." I hung up. Something inside me, that last bit of hope, burned away. For a moment, I thought about calling Ethan, screaming at him. But then I realized something. He'd already made his choice. And now I had to make mine. The next morning, I drove to their house, the same one we'd spent Christmas at. The wreath from last year still hung on the door, faded, dusted with neglect. Lydia opened it before I could knock twice. Her smile was thin, sharp as glass. "Well," she said, "I was wondering when you'd come crawling." I clenched my fists. "Where's Ethan?" "Out. And if you're here about the money, it's gone." He made his decision. A man's loyalty should be to his family. Her words echoed poisonous and perfect. A man's loyalty should be to his family. I wanted to slap that smugness right off her face. But instead, I smiled. "You're right," I said softly. "Family means everything." And that's when I decided I wouldn't chase Ethan. I wouldn't beg for what was mine. I'd wait, because people like Lydia, they always hang themselves with their own rope. 2 months passed. I started rebuilding. Got a promotion at work. Moved into a smaller apartment. For the first time, I was learning how to breathe again. Friends started coming around. My laughter didn't sound forced anymore. Then one night, around midnight, my phone buzzed. Ethan. I stared at his name glowing in the dark. A message preview. "Clara, I made a mistake." My chest tightened. I didn't open it right away. I wanted him to sweat. 5 minutes later, another message came through. "Please, I need to see you." I didn't respond. Instead, I scrolled through his old photos. He and his mother are at the beach, her arm around him. Caption, "My boy, my everything." My jaw clenched. It wasn't just a breakup anymore. It was a lesson. About power. About pride. About how easily love can turn to greed. The next morning, I got a call at work. My coworker mouthed, "Your ex." I took it in the hallway. "Clara, please." Ethan's voice cracked. "Mom, she's ruined me." "Good," I said quietly. He started crying. "She took everything. The money, my credit. She even sold my car. I don't know what to do." "You should have thought of that before sending her $30,000. He didn't answer. Just sobbed. For a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then he said it, the line that sealed everything. "Clara, I need your help." I looked out the window, the city humming below. And I realized something. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. It was an opportunity. That night, I met Mara again at a small cafe. She looked exhausted. "He's been staying with me," she said. "He's a wreck. Mom's not answering his calls. She's probably gone through the money already." I stirred my coffee slowly. "Does he know I know?" Mara shook her head. "He still thinks Mom convinced you to back off. He doesn't know how bad she talked about you." "Perfect," I said. She frowned. "Clara, what are you planning?" I smiled. "Nothing illegal. Just poetic." That night I couldn't sleep. I lay awake thinking about the past year. Every moment that led here. The proposal. The wedding planning. The lies I'd loved Ethan once. But love without respect is just weakness. And I wasn't weak anymore. I got up, opened my laptop, and started typing. Every receipt. Every transfer. Every screenshot of messages where he admitted what he did. Every photo of Lydia with her new jewelry that I knew was bought with my money. Piece by piece, I built my case. Not for court, but for something much better. Reputation. By dawn, I had a plan. It wasn't about getting the money back. It was about control. He'd taken my future once, now I'd take his. But first, I needed him to trust me again. So I opened his message and finally replied. "Ethan, I'm sorry for everything too. Maybe we should talk." 3 dots appeared instantly. "Thank you, Clara, you don't know what this means." I smiled. "Oh," I whispered to myself. "I know exactly what it means." Because forgiveness, when used right, it is the sharpest weapon of all. And I was just getting started. We met 2 days later. Same cafe where we'd planned our honeymoon. Different table, different people. He looked smaller somehow. Thinner, tired, broken. His eyes searched mine like he was looking for the woman who used to forgive him. She wasn't there anymore. "Clara," he said softly. "I can't sleep. I keep seeing your face." Beat. I let the silence stretch until he started fidgeting. Finally, I said, "You didn't see my face when you hit transfer, did you?" He flinched. I thought Mom could handle it better. She said she'd invest it for us. For us, I repeated, tasting the bitterness in my mouth. You mean for herself? He looked down. She promised. Ethan, I interrupted. You're 32. Promises don't pay rent. Beat. He nodded, ashamed. I want to make it right, he said. She won't talk to me, but if you could just maybe talk to her, she listens to you. I laughed. A sharp, quiet sound. She listens to me? Ethan, she called me a gold digger at our engagement dinner. He winced. I know. She was wrong. I was wrong. Please, Clara, I need help. I studied him for a long moment. He was desperate, and desperation was leverage. So I nodded slowly. All right, I'll help you. His eyes brightened. You will? Yes, I said. But on one condition. What? You do exactly what I say. Beat. He hesitated, then nodded. Anything. Good, I thought, because this time the script was mine. The next few weeks, I played my part. I met him for coffee, listened to his endless guilt, and watched him fall apart piece by piece. He'd lost his job. His mother had stopped answering his calls. He was drowning, and I was the only hand reaching out. I made sure he believed I still cared. The occasional soft smile, a memory dropped at the right moment, a touch on his wrist. Maybe, I'd whisper, we can rebuild someday. That word, someday, became his addiction. He started calling every night, telling me how he couldn't stop thinking about me, how he'd do anything to fix what he'd broken, and I let him. Because the deeper he sank, the easier he was to control. Then came the night I needed. He called, voice shaking. She's ignoring me, Clara. I went to her house. She wouldn't open the door. She said I'm no son of hers. I pretended to hesitate. Maybe she'd listen to me. Would you? He asked, almost whispering. Yes, I said softly, but only if you promise to stay away. Let me handle it. He agreed instantly. Desperation made him obedient, so I went to Lydia's. Not as the heartbroken ex-fiancé, but as something sharper. Her door opened slowly. When she saw me, her mouth curled into that familiar smirk. Well, if it isn't the abandoned bride, she said. I smiled politely. Good to see you too, Lydia. What do you want? Closure, she scoffed. Closure? Honey, money can't buy that. Oh, I'm not here for money, I said. I'm here for truth. Her expression shifted, just slightly, enough to tell me I'd struck a nerve. I know you took everything, I said quietly. And I know you made Ethan believe it was for both of us. She rolled her eyes. He's a fool. I just protected what was rightfully his. Then why is he broke? She didn't answer. Because you spent it, I continued. Jewelry, trips, a new kitchen, maybe? Her jaw tightened. You can't prove anything. I smiled. Maybe not yet, but I'm a fast learner. I turned to leave, and as I did, I whispered just loud enough for her to hear, Enjoy your house, Lydia. It's beautiful. Shame if something were to ruin its reputation. Her face went pale. I didn't look back. That night I sent Ethan a message. I talked to her. Give her time. He replied instantly. You're amazing, Clara. I don't deserve you. No, I thought. You don't. For the next week, I gathered everything. Bank statements, screenshots, photos from social media showing her sudden upgrades. Even a recording of her own words. That smug line about protecting what was rightfully his. It wasn't a court case. It was a story, and I knew exactly where to tell it. Mara helped me. We built a quiet little website, a blog under an anonymous name. It detailed everything: the transfers, the manipulation, the betrayal. No names at first, just a mother who destroyed her son for greed. It spread fast. People love a scandal wrapped in tragedy. Comments flooded in. What kind of mother does that? That poor man. He needs to wake up. And then I posted one more entry. A photo. Ethan and Lydia at Christmas. Faces blurred, but still recognizable to anyone who knew them. The caption read, "Sometimes blood isn't thicker than betrayal." By morning, it had gone viral in our town. Local gossip pages, office chat groups, even Ethan's old coworkers were whispering. And Lydia? She was furious. I know because she called me. "You think you're clever?" she hissed. "Taking my family business through the mud?" "Business?" I said. "Oh, Lydia. I thought it was about love." She hung up. 2 hours later, Ethan showed up at my apartment, shaking. "Mom's losing it," he said. "She's threatening to sue people online. Everyone's talking. What did you do?" I stared at him. "Did you read it?" He nodded. "Yes, it's horrible, but accurate." "So what's the problem?" He didn't answer. Just sat on my couch, head in his hands. "I wanted her to pay," he said quietly. "Not like this." I leaned forward. "Ethan, this is how people pay. Not always with money and sometimes with truth." He looked up at me, eyes wet. "You're different now." I had to be. He reached for my hand. "I miss who we were." I pulled away. Who we were doesn't exist anymore. Days passed. The story spread further. Someone leaked their names. Maybe Mara, maybe a stranger. Either way, Lydia's world collapsed. Her business clients pulled out. Her social circle evaporated. The same people she'd boasted to about her perfect son now whispered behind her back. She finally called Ethan, begging him to make it stop. He came to me again. "Clara, please," he said. "She's my mother. She's breaking down." I stared at him, almost amused. "You didn't mind when she broke me." He had no answer, just tears. And for the first time, I didn't feel pain. I felt clarity. But then, something unexpected. He came to my door again, this time sober, serious. "Clara, I told her to give you the money back." I blinked. "What?" She agreed. "She wants to wire it to you, to make amends." I studied him carefully. Why? Because she knows she can't win. And because I told her, I won't speak to her again if she doesn't. For a second, I almost softened. Almost. Then he said, "Maybe after this, we can start fresh." And there it was. That same old selfishness, disguised as hope. I smiled faintly. "Sure, Ethan. Maybe." He left with relief in his eyes. But as soon as the door closed, my face hardened, because he still didn't understand. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about power, and I hadn't finished yet. That night, I sat at my desk, staring at the balance notification on my phone. $30,000. Back in my account. Same amount. Different meaning. Revenge had paid. Literally. But as I looked at the numbers, something inside me stirred. A mix of victory and emptiness. I thought of Lydia, humiliated. Ethan, lost and ashamed. And me, standing on the ashes of what once was love. I whispered to myself, this is what justice feels like. But deep down, I knew I wasn't done. Not yet. Because sometimes, revenge doesn't end when you win. It ends when they understand why they lost. And I was about to make sure they did. The money was back in my account. $30,000. Crisp digital proof that I'd won. But victory didn't feel like peace. It felt unfinished. Because while Lydia and Ethan were bleeding from their own choices, they still didn't understand. They thought I'd lashed out. They didn't know I'd planned every beat of it, and that misunderstanding. That was the final thread I needed to cut. I started small. A few screenshots were sent anonymously to the local paper. Not the money story. No, that was too obvious. Just whispers. A photo of Lydia at her country club dinner, laughing with someone else's husband. Receipts for charity donations that never reached their destinations. And then, an anonymous tip about tax discrepancies in her boutique business. The editor bit fast. Within a week, a headline ran, "Socialite under fire for mismanaged charity funds." It wasn't defamation. Every word was true. And every source? Her own public posts, her own arrogance. Ethan called me that night. "Clara, you've seen the news, right?" "Mom's panicking. She thinks someone's targeting her." I pretended to be shocked. "Oh no, poor Lydia." "She's saying she'll leave town," he said, voice trembling. "She's ruined." "Maybe," I whispered. "She's just getting what she gave." He didn't answer. But his silence told me. He knew. Meanwhile, the gossip storm grew. Her reputation, once polished and perfect, is now dragged through every dinner table in the city. She'd spent years crafting that image. I destroyed it in weeks, but the real satisfaction came from the next move. Ethan's redemption act. He wanted to prove he'd changed. So he started sending me messages. Sweet ones at first, then confessions. "You were right about her. I should have protected you. I'd give anything to start over." Every word he wrote was another piece of the puzzle. Because I knew exactly how this would end. One night, I invited him over. No candles, no music, just coffee and silence. He looked nervous, like a man about to confess a sin. "Clara," he said quietly, "I know you'll never trust me again. But I'm sorry. For everything." I nodded slowly. "Do you even know what you're sorry for?" He frowned. "For taking the money. For believing her? Not enough," I said. "You're sorry for making me believe I was safe with you. For turning love into leverage. For choosing convenience over courage." He swallowed hard. "You're right. I know," I said softly. Then I handed him a small envelope. Inside were photos. Lydia's fake charity receipts, her offshore transactions, and a letter addressed to the IRS. His face drained of color. "Clara, what is this?" "Insurance," I said. "For you," he shook his head. "You can't, she's my mother." I leaned forward, voice low. "She was never your mother, Ethan. She was your mirror. And now you're seeing yourself in her." He stood there for a long time. Then quietly, he tore the envelope in half. But the damage was already done, because I'd already sent copies. That night, Lydia's empire crumbled completely. Her accounts are frozen, her business is under investigation, and Ethan? He vanished again. Not a word. Not a text, just silence. 3 weeks later, I got a message. From Mara. "Mom's moving away. Ethan's been drinking again. He says you destroyed him." I stared at it for a long time before replying. "No, Mara, I just showed him the truth, because revenge isn't fire, it's reflection. It forces people to see what they've done, who they've become. It makes them sit in the mess they built, and when they finally realize, that's when you stop." That weekend, I drove to the coast, the one we'd chosen for our honeymoon. The ocean was calm, endless, indifferent. I stood there, letting the wind wrap around me. I opened my phone and read the last message Ethan had ever sent. I wish I could undo it all. I deleted it, because the truth was, if he could, he'd just hurt someone else. People like him don't change. They just find new victims. I wasn't one anymore. I whispered to the waves, "You took my heart. I took your legacy, Fair trade. Then I turned away. Not triumphant. Not vengeful. Just free revenge wasn't about winning. It was about ending. And for the first time in months, I finally felt the ending click into place. Quiet, complete, inevitable. As I drove home, I thought of something my mother once said. Sometimes you don't heal by forgiving. You heal by becoming untouchable. And that's exactly what I'd done. Months passed. The storm quieted. People moved on as they always do, chasing the next scandal, the next tragedy. Lydia disappeared from town. Her house sold. Her name is forgotten. Ethan drifted somewhere between guilt and denial, a ghost of his own choices. And me? I found peace in the smallest things. Morning light through clean windows. Coffee that didn't go cold. Silence that didn't ache anymore. Sometimes I still catch myself wondering, what if he'd never sent that message? What if we'd gone through with the wedding? Then I realize I'd still be living someone else's dream. Not mine. Revenge didn't fix me. It revealed me. It showed me how much strength hides beneath heartbreak. How sometimes survival isn't about walking away. It's about walking through the fire and not letting it burn who you are. One evening, I visited my mother. She hugged me longer than usual. "I'm proud of you," she said. "For what?" I asked. "For not letting them take your softness." And that night, for the first time, I slept without replaying the past. Because the story was over. Not perfectly. Not cleanly. But honestly, I learned that closure doesn't always come with forgiveness. Sometimes it comes when you stop needing answers. My name is Clara West, and I didn't just survive what they did to me. I rewrote the ending.